So let's check out the Nmap command. What's up guys, it's Josh back with another video, and today I wanted to take a quick look at how to use the Nmap command. Now this command is very powerful for network exploration and security auditing. And Nmap is a open source utility that is widely used by network administrators, security professionals, and enthusiasts alike to discover hosts and services on a computer network, as well as identify security vulnerabilities and perform penetration testing. And so today I want to get back to my Kali series, where I want to talk about a bunch of different utilities and applications that you can use on Kali Linux in order to understand how to become a security professional. And so let's hop over to the website for Nmap, and I'll be using the one on the Kali.org website, which has an explanation on how to use it in Kali Linux, just to show you guys a little bit about it. And then I'll also cover some basic examples of how to use the Nmap command, and you guys should be up to speed on breaking down this command and using it. So let's hop over there now. Before we move forward, I wanted to give a quick shout out to CIQ, the official partner of Rocky Linux. Rocky Linux is a Linux distribution that is intended to be a downstream complete binary compatible release using the Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system source code. The project is led by Gregory Kurtzer, who was the founder of the CentOS project. So check out Rocky Linux at ciq.co. All right, so I'm at Kali.org, and on their website, they have a whole bunch of documentation. They also have an area where you can look at all the tools that are included. And as you can see, Nmap is one of those tools. And right now, the current version is 7.93. But just to explain a little bit more of the tool, Nmap is a command line tool that can be used to scan hosts and networks for open ports and running services, as well as to gather information about those services, such as their version numbers and operating system. And a lot of this information is very important, especially if you're doing an assessment of a network, by gathering this information. First, then you can look for a way to attack that network if you need to, especially like if you're on a pen testing assessment for an organization. Now, Nmap is also capable of performing more advanced tasks, such as the OS fingerprinting, as well as detecting firewalls and IDS systems. And if you guys need more information, you can go to this page. I'll have this link down in the description of the video, and this kind of covers everything. It's the tool documentation. It covers a whole bunch of stuff. It breaks down options, which I'll break down some of my basic options today that I'll walk you guys through how to actually use it. But it also has like some other packages that are installed that are similar. You know, they follow that same name, N in the front of it, but like NDiff, NCAT, NPing. So you can use all those utilities as well, and they also give you examples on here as well. But I'm gonna hone in on that Nmap command, showing you guys how to use it. So let's hop over to my virtual machine so I can walk you guys through some of these examples. All right, cool. So we logged into our Kali 22 virtual machine. And the first thing I like to do is always show you guys how to get documentation. First off, let me show you guys how to look at the version. So all you have to do is type nmap-v and press enter, and that'll give us the version of Nmap. And like I showed you guys on the website, this is the current latest stable version that's included within Kali Linux, and it's Nmap 7.93. So that's how you get that version if you need it. And then also, let me show you guys how to get some help. So let's say you need help writing out these commands, because what I'm gonna do is show you just some specific commands. They'll show you how to use certain options that are available to you, but it's a whole bunch of options. Nmap can be very complex as far as writing out the commands. I wanted to show you guys some basic ones. But in order to build upon those basic commands, you need to understand all the other options that are available to you. And so all you have to do is type nmap and then -h, and this will give us all our options. So we can scroll up. I'll just kind of walk through it and show you guys, but this is how you get to those options. They got a whole bunch of options. So target specification, host discovery, scan techniques, port specifics, and scan orders. Like I said, this thing can get very complex. Scan techniques, port specifics, let's see, service, version detection, script scan. It's just a whole bunch of, like, here's one of the ones I'm gonna go through and show you guys. But OS detection, that allows you to try to get the OS or the fingerprint of the OS of the system that you're scanning, so you can get some information about the system to see if it's a potential target or if it may have some vulnerabilities. It could probably pull in a version. But yeah, this is how you get the base information of how to use the nmap command by typing nmap -h. Now let's go down and clear the screen because I want to go down and walk you guys through a few of the options that I wanted to show you guys that I think are important to understand and learn so you can build upon them. Now, before I start running these commands, I want to advise you guys to run the nmap command only on servers that you specifically have permission to run this command on. Now, it doesn't really hurt, you know, when you run it against, you know, certain domains or servers or something to that effect, but you don't want to affect services to someone. They find out that you're actually scanning their server and you can possibly get in trouble for it. So I don't recommend you guys doing that. Make sure you go to a site similar to scanme.nmap.org, and actually let's go over there right fast so I can show you guys that this is a good place to scan. Let's open up the website, but it's scanme.nmap.org, and you can scan this, and as you can see, you have specific permission to do it. So it says, hello and welcome to scanme.nmap.org, the service provider for nmap's security scanner project. We set up this machine to help folks learn about nmap and also test and make sure that their nmap installation or internet connection is working properly. You are authorized to scan this machine with nmap or other port scanners. Try not to hammer the server too hard. A few scans a day is fine, but don't scan 100 times a day or use this site to test your SSH brute force password cracking tool. Yeah, at the end of the day, they give you permission to use this site. Just don't go crazy with it. So let's go back to our virtual machine, going on and show you guys the scans. I totally forgot to show you guys that, but I wanted to at least show you guys that. All right, cool. So let's show you guys how to get the IP address, and I'm gonna quickly do this right fast. But there is a built-in command as well in Kali Linux. It's called the dig command, and what I want to do is translate that URL, the scanme.nmap.org, into the IP address, because I want to show you guys how to use the IP address. But this is a good way of finding that IP address so you can run these scans a little bit more effectively. You can run it against the URL, but it's best to have the IP address. So let's go and type it in right fast. So scanme.nmap.org, press enter, and that'll grab the IP address for us. So as you can see, that's our A record for it. So let's go on and copy the selected, boom, and let's go on and run our nmap command. So nmap, and then the base way of running it is just putting that target IP address there. So let's go on and paste that in there. That is the IP address we want to use for our first scan. So let's go down and press enter. And as you can see, it'll start going through and it'll scan that server. It didn't take long to actually do it, but as you can see, it brings up all the ports that are being used, the services that are being used on this server. So port 22 is open, SSH 25 is filtered, SMTP port 80 is open, obviously because we're able to get to the website, but that's the HTTP port, as well as a couple other ports that are open. They're all TCP 139, TCP, let's see, filtered, NetBIOS, SSN, Microsoft DS, this 445, 9929, that's Mping Echo, 31337, that's TCP port open Elite. So boom, you can basically scan one target just using the nmap command, and it'll bring back all this information for you. Now let me show you guys how to run it against multiple IP addresses. Super simple. Same thing, I'm gonna run it against my, let's say, something on my home directory or home network. So 10 .4, and we'll run it against both of those IP addresses. But that's how you run it against multiple IP addresses. It'll run them after another in tandem. As you can see, it'll give you some information on both of those IP addresses. So boom, we got that one. You can see all the ports that are open as well there. I believe this is my NAS here at the house, so I do have ports open, you know, port 80, you know, and a couple other ports, you know, that are open on that system. But the same information for the other IP address that we found for the Nmap command. Boom. Now let me show you guys another way. Let's clear right fast so we can bring it back up at the top. But you can scan a range of IP addresses, and I only use that on my local network, so you guys kind of, I don't know, see that in action. But Nmap, and then let's do 192.168.10. You can do whatever you want. So let's say you want to start at number 4 like we did, and let's say we want to go all the way up to 10. So that's 6 IPs that'll scan on that's one network. So all we have to do is press enter. That'll go through and scan all the 6 of those IP addresses that we had on there. As you can see, it's only 2 hosts. I believe both of these are my NAS because I have 2 cables plugged into it, and I set those static IP addresses for it. But as you can see, just to make it, you know, fault tolerant, so to speak. But yeah, I was able to scan, you know, all the ones that had hosts up within that range of IP addresses that we put there. So as you can see down here at the bottom, just to explain this, but it says Nmap done 7 IP addresses, 2 hosts up, and it only took 1.29 seconds to scan those 2 hosts. Now let's say you're you want to run an Nmap scan, but you want to look at a specific port without just running a full, you know, Nmap scan. You can specify a specific port. Like for instance, we already know because I ran it in the beginning, but for the nmap.org IP address up here, that 45.33.32.156, we already know that port 22 is open. But let's say we didn't run that scan, and we want to just automatically go straight to, let's see if port 22 is open on this system, because that's one of the vulnerabilities that we're actually looking for. And you can do it the exact same way how I scan multiple hosts. You can run it through a whole host of IP addresses on a network, just looking for one specific port. And actually, let's do that. So let's press up arrow and use that same, actually, let's start at 100. So let's go 100 to, let's go 110, and let's go back up here, but we have to add the option for the port. So -P, boom, and then we have to add our port number. So we want to look for port 22 within this range of IP addresses. So let's go down, press enter, and we should find one with that port open, 1 or 2 with that port open, or a couple with that port open. So as you can see, it kind of gives you a summary at the bottom. So this is what you want to look at right here, and these are basically virtual machines I have running on my system, or, you know, other systems that are out here on my network, my personal network. But Nmap, you know, done 11 IP addresses, so 8 hosts are up, and it scanned in like 1.39 seconds, and it mainly just checked for that port 22. So port 22 is closed, 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 closed. Host is up, yeah, and it checks to see if the host is up, but it will check to see if those that port is actually open on any of those systems. Now, man, I actually thought one of them would have been open. Actually, let's try another range. So let's go up in here, because I want to at least give out some good, you know, examples. So let's start at 50 and go to 60. So let's press enter. Might be able to find something that's open. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so I knew some of these servers on here are open. So as you can see, it says 11 IP addresses, 5 hosts up. Each one of those hosts have SSH open, and you can tell by it saying open right there, the state of the actual port. So most of those ports, you know, they're open, but they're set to only accept SSH keys. because I try to secure them even on my local network, because if someone gets on my local network and they try to get into these systems, they would have to have the key. So I have a password authentication turned off on those servers, but as you can see, those ports are open. They're still going to show open on that system. So that's crazy. So I found a good range actually, and that will get us into showing a lot more information when we run specific other commands. Now let's use that same list of IP addresses, but let's try to detect what version of SSH is running on each one of these systems that are up. So let's go down and run it, but there's another option you can go in here and add, and I'll just add it right after the P. And let's go down and add these two options. I want to show you guys this, but it's a lowercase s basically for the service, and then a capital V, and that'll try to find out the version of those services that are open. So I'm gonna leave I'm gonna take this port 20, this port off, and let's go down and press enter, and this will run through and it'll scan all ports that are open and try to figure out the service that's running on it, as well as the version that's running on that server. And that's a good way of finding vulnerabilities, because if you know what version it is, you can find out if those servers may have some form of a vulnerability. So you can go through here, check it out. It pulled up a couple of these servers. So I got a Debian right here. This is Samba. It looks like 150. Oh, that's the Proxmox server. So that's my actual virtual server. I got OpenSSH on it. I also have NetBIOS, SSN, RPC bind. It's a whole bunch of little stuff I got on here, as well as I thought I seen Samba on here somewhere, not sure, but anyway, you see bind on here, so that's port 53, and it also pulled in that version. This is what's the important part, is the version, and then as well as OpenSSH, the version of that as well. As you can see, most of these are up to date. Probably not this one because it's 8.2. It should be like 8.4, I believe. 8.2 right here. I probably need to go back and update these servers, but that's fine. It's on my local network. I need to run some updates on some of them. I'll probably run through and do a couple updates on these systems. But as you can see, oh yeah, and I did see Samba. So yeah, that's the SSN Samba. SMBD, that's the version of Samba. So boom, you can see what service is running on there. And you can try to search for vulnerabilities for those particular versions. And so as you can see, it kind of pulled in the OS, which I probably should have showed you the OS detection first, but let's run through that same, list of IP addresses, and let's try to find the OS. Now all you have to do is type O, capital O, and let's just go down running against one IP address set of all of them, so you can see a good picture of what it actually pulls in. So let's say we found, and I forgot about this one, you got to run the -O option, which is trying to find that fingerprint of the system using sudo. So all you gotta do is up arrow, type sudo in front of Nmap, the Nmap command -O, and then the IP address, press enter. It's going to ask you for that sudo password, so type that in. Boom, it'll run through the scan and it'll try to detect the operating system. So OS detection performed. You can report any incorrect results there in case it's different. Like let's say what the operating system is, and that's just mainly so they could correct it, but it did run a OS detection, and as you can see, it's running some form of Linux 4.x or 5.x. It doesn't fully know. I know this is running Proxmox for sure. It also runs scan or ports against the scans. You see Squid there. That's Samba, all that good stuff there. So it tries to recognize the OS. So as you can see, OS CPE, so Linux kernel for CPE, Linux kernel 5. So it really doesn't know OS details. It's in between there, as far as the version. So one hop, it's on the same network. So just wanted to at least show you guys that, so you guys can understand how to do that if you need to try to figure out what the OS is of the system that you're scanning. And like I said, it's not 100% accurate all the time. That's why they ask you to report any correct results, especially if you know what the IP address, that'll help them better figure out the best way to detect the operating system of the system that you're scanning. All right, cool. Let me show you guys another way of actually looking up information. So we ran the O. Now there is a way to pull in a lot more information. So you can do the OS detection, you can do the version detection, as well as trace routing using one option, and that's -A. And this is called the aggressive scan. And let me show you guys that right fast. And actually, let's not run it against our local system. Let's run it against that other IP address. So let's do -A, and then let's run it against our the IP address of that Nmap server. And like I said, this will do a more of an aggressive scan. You have to use sudo. I know for sure you have to use sudo because it's running that OS detection as well as the version detection, trace route, you know, a couple other things. So you have to use sudo when running that option. But as you can see, it pulls in a lot more information. So let's scroll back up here. Boom, you can see a lot more information. So under port 22, which is SSH, it shows the public keys, the RSA key, public key right there. You can see a little bit more information about each one of these ports. So port 80, it even tells you the service that's running on that port. So this is a web server, it's running Apache on it as well. So it pulled in a version of that, HTTPD 2.4.7. It's also running on Ubuntu based on what that's saying, you know what I'm saying? So you can go through and you get a lot more information just by running that off the rip. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to just get some information about a specific IP address, this is the best way to do it. And then also it shows you the trace route. This is one thing I wanted to show you guys. It uses port 1025, but it registers all the hops. So hop 1, that's my local DNS, which is my router basically, and it goes through and it gives you all the hops all the way to this IP address. So if you want to get that information, you know, right off the back, all you have to do is run that -A. And like I said, it's more aggressive. It doesn't care about logs, you know, because most of the time when you run scans like this, it logs your IP address. We have permission to run it against this IP address, so it's good to go. But like I said, you know, it gives you all those hops. All right, so we ran the A. Now let me show you guys how to run or create an output of this information using the nmap command. So we can type nmap -lowercase o, and with the lowercase o, we have to put in where we want this stored. So let's go down and put it in our home directory. So home Josh, and then let's name the file. So let's go nmap .org .txt, and then let's do the -A option, and then the IP address we want to scan, which we're going to scan that nmap.org IP address. And one other thing I just thought about it, we need to, since we're using that -A, we have to put sudo in here. So let's press enter. That'll run through, run that same command, but it'll output it to a text file for us. All right, cool. So as you can see, we got our nmap.txt file. Boom, as you can see, it pulls that same information, puts it out there the same way we ran it with just A, that output it out. So you can do that with all the commands. So if you're running against multiple commands, all that information will be in this text file, similar to, you know, when we ran it the original way, where it just output it to the terminal. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I tried to cover as many different nmap commands that will help you get started with using this super powerful tool. I started off with some basic commands such as scanning, you know, single targets, as well as scanning multiple targets, and then try to move on to some more advanced commands. And I hope that got you up and going, and it should help you get a good understanding of how to use the nmap command to scan networks and identify potential security risks. So please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have some questions or comments, leave them down in the comments below. I love to hear from you guys. I love to, listen to the community, especially when you guys recommend, things you want me to cover or different things, tools that you want to see on the channel. Definitely give me that feedback. I would greatly appreciate it. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And of course, keep it techie.